Yes. Good morning, everybody. Here we are. We are live. It is Wednesday. It's the 4th. May the 4th be with you. There's a bit of Star Wars for the morning. Hooray! Okay, good. Sorry. Nerds everywhere go, oh, yeah, it's May the 4th. Nobody else gives a damn. It's awesome. All right, this morning, coming to you live from Cape Town, we have Candice Mama. There she is. She's looking extremely sexy for this time of the morning. Did you go and get dressed up especially for us? That's amazing. Huh?
Of course I did. Where else would I be going at this time of the morning, Gareth?
You never know. I mean, Cape Town is a very exciting place. You could be going anywhere.
Well, the question is, where would I be coming from? That would be the better question.
That's a good question. And then in the studio in Johannesburg, we have Simphiwe and Tatwa. And in my house, which is being load shed, we have me, Gareth Cliff. It's very exciting this morning. Very, very exciting to be coming to you from at least 2 locations where Eskom has switched all the power off. Great.
Man.
How did you light up where you are, Candice? Have you got like a UPS or something?
Well, I have a magneto light. I'm not going to move it because then you won't see me. Then I've got a ring light. Then I have another ring light. Just trying to figure it out so that I don't look like a ghost today.
No.
You did a great job.
No, this is impressive. You know, we've had other guests who go, oh no, it's load shedding. And you just see basically it's them in the dark. And occasionally you might see teeth or something, right, Simphiwe?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then like just after 7, you then like, oh, there's that person. Okay, this is really you. Like I don't know who we're talking to, but okay.
Like. Right. Yeah.
So you really like did a great job, Candice. We can see your whole face. It looks like the sun is actually coming from the right side of your
okay.
The right side of your face.
Like,
yeah.
That's a
yes,
good job,
honey.
Thank you so much.
I already mentioned this yesterday. I kind of remembered that we've got Slipper Day, which is happening on Friday. All right, so on Friday it's Slipper Day. You can get your own pair of slippers and you put them on and you wear them. Maybe you're brave enough to wear them to work on Friday because it's all for a good cause. You can show your support by purchasing a sticker and a pair of funky slippers and tag Reach for a Dream, which you can find on all social media. Reach for a Dream. You can also tag any of their partners, Wimpy, South Africa, Baby Cities, South Africa, Discam, Toy Zone, and Pick and Pay, who are all involved here. You can buy a sticker. All the proceeds then go to Reach for a Dream, which is an amazing organization. We've so often talked about them here on the show. What they do is they basically allow kids who have life-threatening illnesses, and they're busy fighting those illnesses in many situations, to have a dream reached. They can fly on a plane for the first time. They can go to the sea for the first time. They can meet one of their childhood heroes. It's lots of things that Reach for a Dream do, and all of it is so moving, and it's really, really special. And if you want to help them, then you buy a sticker this week, put on your slippers, put an image or a video up of you in your slippers, and you can put it on your socials with all those tags to get everybody else to join. So that's Slipper Day 2022, and that's the hashtag as well. Slipper Day 2022. Show us your slippers, Simphiwe. Just look at these. These are the best.
Are you guys ready? Drum roll. Let's be a bit dramatic with this.
A little drum roll here. All right. Wait, I'll give you a proper drum roll. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Here she goes. All right. I'm going to give you a little fanfare. How about that?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
So this is what I'll be wearing this Friday on Slipper Day. Were you ever ready?
Look at those.
They're like massive.
Amazing.
Those are the coolest.
Yeah.
Those are the coolest.
Oh, man.
They're like blue, almost oversized toe slipper things. So
Well,
this
at
is
least,
what I'm going to do.
at least with them being blue like that, no one's going to think it's your actual feet. They're going to think, oh, geez, Huey has huge, ugly, monstrous feet. With them being blue, they're going to know straight away they're slippers. So it's not that embarrassing, right?
Yeah. They look very comfortable. Like I should not leave the house in them, but we shall see if we actually dare to even leave work
Maybe.
in them.
So Congo Chris says those look like my regular feet. Nice.
Okay.
All right.
Congo Chris.
Clearly not giving you foot massages anytime soon.
Oh God, no, I don't like the idea of giving anyone a foot massage. Huh? That's not one. It's not one of those things I would want. You.
I mean,
especially if they have used kryptonite looking like.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna no. I have to defend the ugly toe gang. Okay. We were born with it. It's not like we did this to ourselves, you know.
Oh, are you part of the ugly toe gang?
I am indeed. I am.
So your toes have like a. They always put gang ties up. They look like.
It's just like, you know, you can play music like it's.
Oh, you got really long toes.
No. So no, they normal sized toes, but they just have a lot of speed bumps. Like they just like a lot of like, you know, there's a lot going on. The bones just don't do what they're supposed to do. So
that's
You've
so
said
great.
Enough, Candice. You've said enough. You have.
You know, I know. I realized what I did to myself.
Girl.
Listen, everybody. I think everybody either has an issue with their toes, or they think their toes are beautiful, and then they just haven't actually had them evaluated by enough people. Because I reckon there are lots of people with very weird toes going around. The thing that we were just talking about that got us onto this pretty bizarre subject is the idea that there are people who give foot massages, and you know, I'm not really into feet. So there are lots of people who like doing that. They're like, oh, yeah, when I'm in love with someone, when I've got someone special in my life, I'll give them a foot massage. I'm never going to be that guy. I'm never going to go, oh, hey, you know, you look like you had a rough day, honey. Why don't you just lie down there or sit down in this chair? I'll give you a foot massage. Oh, no. Not going to happen.
You do shoulder massages, or are you opposed to massages in general?
No. So I'll do a shoulder massage. That's no problem at all. But a foot massage, nah, not for me.
Well, what is it about? Like for me, if they're clean and they're not like ghastly, like they're not like blowing you away with their like, you know, weirdness, then I think they're fine. Most feet, I think, are okay as long as they're clean.
No.
But if the person's not walking around barefoot and like soiling their feet, then I think it's okay.
And they have like big calluses. They have big calluses, and they've got like very, very like rough, like coarse heels, and they're dirty underneath. Nah.
Simphiwe, you too. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I'm a bit picky when it comes to, you know, feet massages or foot massages. And I think like your nails are number one. Like that's the first thing I look like. What direction are your nails going in? Are they going west, east, south, west? Because that's also very important. And then it's like, do you have corners? You know, how your heels, like all of that. Do you take care of your actual feet? You know, foot care is important. And if you don't take care of your feet, then why should I then start treating them? Because in 3 weeks' time, they're going to be cracked again. So no, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, I look, I mean, this is something which obviously gets a lot of people talking. How long are your toes, Cheryl? Says Congo Chris to Cheryl in the comments. Hell no, I'll give them a voucher. There are foot spas for that. So Cheryl and Congo Chris swapping information about each other's feet. Now, John Bad Dog, hell no, says, all the women in my life were ballet dancers. They have the most beautiful feet. That's bullshit.
That is not usually. I'm not going to say that you are fibbing, but I'm also not going to say that is accurate to ballet dancers.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially ballet dancers.
Yeah,
it's not usually the case.
They put their feet through a lot just to be able to do those. You know, and I used to do ballet like when I was really young. So I know, like, yes, you guys, you really do put your feet through a lot. So those people, no, girls, no.
Yeah, I blame ballet for my feet. Like, I think my feet were perfectly formed, but a combination of ballet and badly fitted shoes caused the fiasco I now deal with as an adult.
You know,
Is that
this is a whole subject. Some people could talk about this for hours. I want to move on, but I do think Sanele is kind of echoing mine and Simphiwe's sentiments here. If you want a foot massage, take a walk because you're not getting one from me. Yeah, good. All right.
Wow.
So here's the thing that Simphiwe wants to tell us about that she's tried this week. When did you do this? Over the weekend?
Yes, over the long weekend. Yes, I tried yoga for the first time, guys. I was like, a friend of mine is really into it, and she's been doing it for a couple of months. And she's like, "You're doing nothing Monday morning, so let's go." And she convinced me to join her in like my first yoga session. And honey, chat, like, shout out to people that do yoga. Your core strength is impeccable. Like, I was dying. I was like, okay, woo. And then they're like, just breathe in and relax. And it's like time to meditate. Oh, what are your intentions for the day? And I was like, okay, this is very different from what I would have expected. But
it's quite an incredible thing. Like I've done one yoga session in my life. It was like this weekend away that one of my friends organized, and there were a whole lot of people there, and everybody was like, well, let's do this, because there were activities and things that people were doing. And one of the things is like, well, if you want to, you can do some yoga. So I was like, well, how hard could this be? I mean, like, my mom does it and my sister's done it, but I've never even been to a class. Geez, was that difficult? Those positions they get into, I couldn't do half of
you're
them.
struggling there, and they just get into this pose, and you're like, excuse me, wait, give me wait, just let me and they're like, okay, just breathe in now and just center everything. And I'm like, wow. Wait.
I was like, hang on, hold, everybody stop the show. Michael says, no, I am out, pointless to try, show's slipping, Thursday's only worth the time. Bye, Michael. Cheers. Let's just give him a minute. Let's give him a minute to find something else to listen to this morning. Cheers, Michael. There we go. That's great. Perfect. Thank you. That's lovely. So the rest of us can carry on with our party while Michael goes and masturbates furiously.
I mean, I don't know why it had to be a departure lounge, but okay. I'm just glad, we knew.
You know what?
We knew.
We always like to say goodbye when someone decides that they've had enough of the show, or that they've found something better, and Michael's no exception. So bye.
I love that.
All right. Yeah. We're very we like to wish our departing people well, and in this case, he's got other things to do. So cheers. We also have other things to do. We've got to move on. But this yoga thing is it's an incredible way to be fit and supple, right? Yes. And so when Simphiwe told me about this yesterday, I'm like, well, that's going to benefit you in the long run. You come out of that. If you do yoga these people who do it like twice a week or whatever,
I'm those people.
Oh, yes, Candice. How did you get roped into yoga? Like, tell us more.
No, but I've always wanted to do yoga. And then I moved to Cape Town, and this city's just filled with supermodels and like demigods. And I was like, I need to figure my life out. Like, I don't want to be like the toad, So I was like, what do you guys do? And they're like, we go to hot dog yoga. So I was like, okay. So then I started going to yoga. But it was definitely not for fitness. It was for complete vanity, 100%. And I don't regret it. It's been a good motivator. It's good. It's good. And like you said, it connects you to your breath. That's what it does.
And breathe in and out and just relax. Like, I did feel a bit more relaxed afterwards. I was just like, whew, no, man. So I might continue with it, but I'm not sure. After all that stretching and I was like, I need to find some balance within me first.
but it is exhausting. There are people who come out of a yoga session and they're sweating, and you could run around the block and you wouldn't look so tired. It happens.
Yeah. But that's hot yoga. That's usually hot
yoga.
So
wait. I heard you there's hot yoga. There's what other yoga? Like, it seems like there's different types of yogas.
There are. There are. There's like the traditional yoga, which is done in a normal studio with like a fan and conditioning. Then there's like hot yoga, which used to be referred to as something else before that person got, he became a little touchy. So now we call it hot yoga. And then there's like other kinds of yoga.
Yes. No, hang on. I remember the story. There was this yogi, and the guy was, he was basically like fondling all these women in the yoga class and like having sex with them, and they were like thinking he was part of the yoga. These dummies, right? Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I want to defend the dummies for a second, and the only reason I want to defend is, he made it seem like it was a spiritual practice to get in touch with like source, divine energy. And so I think that's why they fell into it. They were seeking enlightenment. They just found it in the wrong places.
That's all these cults, they all start off with this. They always like, no, we're going to go on a spiritual journey. Any cult, and there's hundreds of them all over the world. And there's new ones starting every day. It always ends up with the guy in charge of the cult trying to have sex with all the women in the cult. Always. It's like big
it's human
excuse.
nature.
I know, but
it's that much control, Gareth, and then people are like, oh my God, look at you, like you're the best thing since sliced bread, and then all these women are just adoring you. And to start a cult already, you have to have a certain pathology, but now you add all of that in and you lose your mind.
The cult always boils down to weird, freaky sexual shit. Always. These cult leaders always go, well, the final step in your journey is you gotta have sex with me. That's always what happens.
We need to become one, and we need to be in the same, energy. I need to feed off your energy. You need to feed off my energy. It's all about the energies and alignment, something like that.
And these stupid hoes, they just go, okay.
Oh my God!
Sign me up. I'm ready. Spiritual guru teaching.
Spiritual enlightenment.
Shall I bring my friend Candy? Yeah, bring her too. Yeah, let's go. We'll all be joining in the fun here. This is great.
Oh my goodness.
People don't see this? You're kidding me.
No, but it's like, I think a lot of people who end up, because it also takes a certain type of person to end up in these movements, right? It's never like when you watch all the documentaries like Wild Wild Country and all these crazy things, it's always the strange woman. No, sorry, I take that back. I was defending me. I was defending my bad. I don't want to say strange, but they're going through things, they are in a place where they're looking for hope, and this person allows them to delegate responsibility. Yes.
But all of these cults, and I'm talking about these ones where, like the people go away to some place. There's always a place they go to. It's like and it's always
the wellness center.
But it's always away from all the other people. And they separate. They always separate you from your family, which should be like alarm bells, right? The moment the cult tries to pull you away from your family, you should be like, whoa, hang on. Even if you've got a shitty family, like they should not be doing that. That's the first warning sign. It's like the cult leader's like, well, your family are a very bad influence on you, but if you come to me,
Gareth, that's not how they put it. What they say is something along the lines of, and after you've been in this thing, because I'm obsessed with reading about cults apparently, but after they put you on this, like, whole thing of like, we're doing yoga together, we are a family, we are united. They don't say get away from your family. They'll word it a little differently. They'll say something along the lines of, when people aren't on the spiritual path of enlightenment, they can dim your growth and light. You can come back and get them later.
You could. The way you talk now, you could be leading a cult for all we know. You sound like you've got this. You sound like you've got a whole game plan here. Like you're working by the text.
Goodness.
Candice is sitting there with the textbook of the cult, and she's going to be starting one. I'm telling you. She'll be like, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the spiritual journey that we're about to go on. Gonna take you away from your family, your friends, your job, and everything else. We're going to go into the country to this retreat in the mountains, and we're going to be naked the whole time. That's part of the plan. It says you're going to be naked the whole time, and we're all going to take all of these drugs. This handful of drugs is for you. Have the drug, and then ultimately you will know that you are ready to enter the spiritual realm when I'm ready to enter you. That's how you know.
And then you get someone who's like, I'm ready. I shall follow you, master. Lead the way.
You know what? I'll say one thing. If I were to start my own cult, there would be very strict parameters on who enters, because I've seen who enters cults and they're just not my cup of tea most of the time. So you would have to send like a profile. It would kind of be like Tinder for culting, like just let's see how you fit this profile.
Oh, okay.
Again, one bad apple will ruin the whole cult. So you can't let in someone who's very, very unattractive, or they have bad breath, or those nasty scaly feet that we were talking about earlier. You can't have them. They're going to spoil the cult, because you know what? No one's going to want to have sex with them in the cult, and then they're going to feel left out, and they're going to go and report the cult to the police, and that's all you need.
Oh my goodness, no. But you know what? I will not start a cult, because I know my current career path seems like it. But I just want everyone who works with me to know it is not a cult.
Yet. But it's okay, Candice. It's okay. You might be in denial at this moment in time, but you know, at this rate, we never know.
So apart from the having sex with all the women in the cult, these cult leaders also make a lot of money. They usually make a ton of, because they also persuade people to give up all their earthly possessions, right? And then what do? They don't give it up and like sell your stuff and give it to the poor or whatever. They was like, sell your stuff and then bring me the cash so we can buy more, I don't know, more comfortable suits for me, or a private jet for me.
No, it's like to feed the community in order to, it's usually stuff like, you are sacrificing your earthly being in order to be united with a spiritual you. And all this earthly possessions are weighing you down. So let me unburden you with your earthly possessions, much like many marriages sometimes. So it's just a very, high level. I'm not selling it. Hey, like I'm just.
It seems like you know way too much. She's
talking like she's been in one. So just seriously, before we go to headlines, which is just a couple of minutes away, just have you ever got close to this? Because I'll tell you what, a lot of people who go to some of these weird and novel churches, those ones, for example, where the people ate the grass or they had the doom sprayed in their face, and remember all that stuff. Those, you could categorize some of those churches as cults. They hide under the blanket of established religion, so that the lines get very blurry. And I'll tell you what, some people have gone to a temple or a church or a whatever, and they've suddenly discovered, hey, this is a lot more culty than it is churchy. Because again, like the lines are a bit gray. It's not all black and white.
And that is the problem. So I used to be in a very Catholic home, and then Christianity, like normal church. But then I started realizing that, the prosperity churches started coming up, and those are Christianity with as long as you give me this, God's going to bless you.
You're going to get that. Give me 10,000. You'll get 100.
Give me your car. Let me drive in a Bentley, because your pastor can't be struggling, but you don't have bread. And then
when they say prosperity, a prosperity church is really only about the prosperity of the pastor, right?
Of course. And the people that fall below him. And then they promise you the prosperity based on all the money you've tithed, and that is enriching them. And they're like, look at me. I come from nothing, and now I drive a Bentley. And it's like, yes, because of our money. It's very...
So what I do know is that there is this idea of tithing, which comes from, some people say it's scriptural. It comes from the Bible, and part of it is learning to sacrifice. But my problem with that is, it's fine if you sacrifice that and you're putting into a savings account. Like, let's say you take 10% of what you've earned every month and you put it into a savings account. That is a good financial move. And then eventually, you have a nice big pot of savings after a couple of years. Makes sense. But I don't get these people who, and again, I haven't been to any of these churches, so I'm not in a great position to comment on them, but where they pass around the plate and there's a credit card machine on there, and basically people who are really struggling are giving way more than what the supposed tithe is meant to be, because there's pressure, right? You got these old ladies who feel that this is their key to the kingdom of heaven. They're like, well, if I don't give, and I don't give a lot, I'm not gonna get in there. And I feel that that's a really disgusting kind of manipulation. I don't like
It
any of that
is.
at all.
Yeah, me neither. And that's actually why I left the church. And it is exactly that, Gareth. There's a scripture in the Bible which speaks about, how this woman gave her last bit of money to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they use. They're like, if this woman, God bless so much, and she gave everything she had, imagine what God's going to do for you the more you give, right? And it's just a
Exactly.
terrible, terrible way to live. And I think that's when I realized like hope is like such a strong currency. People sell hope all the time. And I think
Yep.
it's a very dangerous commodity to be trading and selling because it can brainwash people and, just
Well,
really minimize.
again, there's so many people out there who are really having a hard time. Sometimes their lifeline, the only bit of hope
Yes.
they've got is the church. Now, if you're taking those people, especially if those people are struggling, you're taking their last bit of money, I think that is just criminal. And, there've been all these guys who've been like Shepherd Bushiri, who they've discovered was, I don't know how that took them so long to work out this guy was a crook. All you should do is, how SARS does these lifestyle audits on people who've got suddenly mysteriously got like 10 cars like that Hamilton and Glover dude. They do those lifestyle audits and they go, we can tell because of what he has, and he shouldn't have that. He's a crook. There's no one who should have that from one government tender. There's also no pastor in the, and I don't care who these people are. I've seen some of them on TV. They got lots of money. And in America, it's even worse. They're these,
mega churches.
These mega churches. And these are not especially bright people who run them or, people who've got any magical powers or whatever. They're just good at convincing other people to part with their money. And sometimes I think, I should have done that rather than going to media because it seems like these guys have no conscience about taking from, ordinary people.
Have you seen the false prophets and what they say to people? It's disgusting where they'll be like, Gareth, your mom is a woman. Your dad is a man. You were born from a woman's vagina. Mm-hmm. Oh, hallelujah. And that's what they say to people just to convince them that I know you. Your life story. I promise you, it's crazy.
No, but Simphiwe, it's more like cold readings. Like, when you go to like a tarot reader or a psychic, where they do very overgeneralized statements. Like, so they'll say something to Gareth like, wow, I can tell that you've worked hard. And obviously most people are going to associate with working hard. I can tell that, you come from a particular place in time. Most of us do, and then they'll start throwing around things, like, did your mom ever tell you that when you were born, your gift was just that you had this magical look in your eyes. And that look was always destined to get you to where you are. And all you have to do for the rest of this reading is text me at Candice. No, I'm kidding.
That's
but you just
and they just have a bit more like, hallelujah, won't God do it? Praise the Lord. Speak to me. Hallelujah. Like they have that hallelujah.
And then they
yes,
breathe.
Candice. And then
Lord, give me you need someone else dancing around you on the floor just to bring the vibe,
And then they have to push you. There's always like a pushing of, and you have to fall and receive. And you're like,
I always feel half and half on this. Like half of me is you shouldn't be doing this to gullible people because it's taking advantage of them. Maybe when their life isn't going so well, they've hit bad times. You shouldn't abuse those people by then trying to take things from them. And if they're gullible, then that's you're a bad person if you do that.
Yes.
But the other side of it is like, well, if you're that gullible, maybe you should be taken advantage of because money doesn't flow out there. No, I know, but it's like gambling, right? If you see someone in a casino on a Monday morning with their whole pension pressing that machine in the casino, that's on them, I'm afraid. Like I can't, if you build a casino, you're not evil for building a casino. Some people are dumb enough to throw their money into those machines. That's you're being smart. You're making a profit. I don't see how, it's outside other people's job to then defend you and protect you from, because you're going to find other ways to spend your money stupidly. So no, I'm telling you. So, the person who doesn't go to the casino, maybe they'll spend their money on drugs or they'll spend their money on church or whatever. They're going to find a way to waste away their money. And that's probably, in some cases, why some people are poor. because they just can't hang on to the money. They everywhere they go, there's either someone smarter than them who's taking the money from them blatantly, which I do still think is wrong, or they're just giving it away stupidly, which is also wrong. But some of that responsibility is on them.
A little bit, but also I just want to say that I think, okay, so firstly, I want to caveat everything I've said this morning with I do believe in psychics. I do. So I want the masses out there to know, because some people are going to listen and be like, but you like psychics. I do. So, but coming back to the people, like, I think when you're in a place of that mental desperation, what you really need is a mindset shift. You don't need to be spending all your money. It's just that I think so many people are growing up, but they've got these little kids inside them that they never healed. And so like, it's the little kid inside them we're like throwing up their credit cards, like spending money on booze. I think that's where we need to start. We need to heal ourselves and our connection to money, so that it doesn't burn a hole in our pocket every time it enters our bank account. And I think people who grow up with a better family structure around money tend to spend money better than those who've never had money and start making new money.
I just think if we tax the religious institutions, you tax the churches, and you tax the cults, it'll help. I think that's that. And I don't like government getting money. I really don't. I'd rather have the churches have money. So this is also a contentious argument. But I do think the way to stop these, what do you call them, prosperity churches, from taking advantage of people is you tax them. Because these pastors, they shouldn't be getting this money out of people. They really shouldn't. I mean, even if people are giving it up voluntarily, it doesn't make it right. It's still wrong. Let's look at some headlines. There is quite a lot to get into this morning. First things first, petrol prices are going to go lower today, but diesel users face another hike. There used to be a time where it was like obvious if you like diesel was cheaper, so it made sense to have a diesel car. Clearly, that's all bullshit now, because petrol goes up sometimes and then diesel goes up more. So apparently, the petrol price, both 93 and 95, will be cut by 12 cents a liter, while diesel goes up 98 cents a liter. That's a hell of a fucking steep increase.
Huh? That's almost R1. That's a
So I don't know how this works, but paraffin is also going up by 79 cents a liter, which is crazy, right? That's a lot.
And then petrol only went down 12 cents.
I don't know what this means. Local fuel prices determined by international oil prices as well as the dollar-rand value. So why does one go up and the other one down? Isn't diesel and petrol, they come from the same stuff?
No idea. And I've always just been told, like, thankfully when I got my car recently, it only had and also I was an idiot for buying a car when petrol prices were skyrocketing. I was so sad. I was like, please tell me it comes with a full tank, because I don't know how much longer I can save for petrol. But it's so interesting to me, because everyone was like, diesel is so much cheaper. Diesel is so much cheaper. And when I looked at the prices, I was like, is diesel cheaper? Because it always looks like they're just always playing that little game. And petrol will rise by like R1 and drop by 10 cents. Always. It's like,
it doesn't make sense.
The petrol price is coming down a whole 12 cents, but you forget that you've just been screwed like 2-3 months before when it went up by R2. You're like, huh?
Yep.
Sure.
Right. Agreed. Dumb and horrible. Who knows how it works, but for diesel people, bend over. There's much pain ahead. All right. I like the fact that Trevor Noah went on the Daily Show and asked people to donate to Gift of the Givers. You may have heard that story over the weekend. He actually announced it on his show. He's like, please give some money to Gift of the Givers. They are helping people in KZN with all the flood relief. And he did this on his show, which he didn't have to do. That's nice of him to do. So again, thank you, Trevor. Very, very good. Helping along the people of KZN who've really, like the riots last year, the floods this year, it's been a really tough time.
Yeah.
And then this is very interesting. Apparently, ZANU-PF youth leader Taurai Kandishaya mobilized the ruling party's supporters to go to Zimbabwean journalist Hopewell Chinoro's village in Murewa on Sunday, threatening to invade and forcibly take possession of his goats.
Hi, Bo.
This could only happen in Zimbabwe, right? But this is not in like some website that the fake news stuff. This is actually in one of our local newspapers. And in a series of tweets, this guy accused this farmer of benefiting from a state-sponsored agricultural program and incited young people to go and get this guy's goats.
Why goats? Out of all things, goats.
Well, wouldn't it wouldn't be like the goat in and of itself, but what the goat symbolizes. So I'd assume that no
goats.
No, I mean, no. I mean in the sense of, taking livestock. If the farmer is selling livestock, or he's, using the livestock himself, by taking the goats, they're essentially taking his income. I don't know. Would that not be the case?
Candice, this is above my pay grade, but because I don't know why anyone would farm goats. Maybe that's all they got left in Zimbabwe has always been a bit weird. So I'm not sure if I can add more value to this, but I will say that this is the state of the Zimbabwean economy, is that now you have politicians saying, go and steal that person's goats. This is when, a country's lost all kind of self-respect. This is a disaster, right?
Yeah, the fact that it's also traveling across border, like sometimes it's like the stuff that happens in your family should be kept in your family. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
we should
as soon as it leaves, everyone else is like, oh, man,
this is embarrassing.
I always knew they were weird. Like that's the thing. Like sometimes you got to contain your borders and what gets out. Like it's just, it's not.
And then this is great news. Apparently, Defense Web editor Guy Martin says that budget cuts are affecting the South African National Defense Force's ability to protect its own bases. He says budget constraints are hampering the maintenance of the force's serviceable fleet. The ability of South Africa's Defense Force to protect its own military bases and facilities has come into question amid a growing civilian threat. The Special Forces School at Murray Hill, north of Pretoria, is reportedly under siege by shack dwellers who have been stealing electricity cables and illegally connecting water infrastructure. This is from the Special Forces School, and a bunch of squatters are stealing their electricity and water.
Remember what we said prior, when I was so on my high horse about like things leaving that and going that way. Well, this is no better. Like, I mean, the fact that we are like, these are the people that are going to serve and protect us, and they're supposed to be so much more intellectually, well-rounded, like they're more of us.
Militarily trained. Yeah, I mean, this is so...
And then this.
So these are our special forces. So these are supposedly the people who, like when we've really got shit going down, like those riots last year where we needed to figure out there was an insurrection or a coup. These are the people that they call, and they don't have any water or electricity because all the squatters have stolen their stuff. This is a military base. Unbelievable.
Wait, so essentially what they're saying is that they can't protect themselves against squatters. That's what they say.
So we've got no chance. I'm sorry to say this again. We haven't had to say this for a long time on the show. But my fellow South Africans, if you are in shit, you are on your own. The military is not coming to help you. And it makes me wonder.
Like, I don't know about any of you, but I've always felt like South Africa's safest place is just to keep quiet and keep peace in the world, like kind of like Switzerland does, because we have no choice. If we cannot be choosing sides in anything. We can't be too volatile, because I'm just like, firstly, who are we sending? Number one. Number two, who are we keeping to protect us as citizens? And I'm like, all we have is clowning sense of humor. Like, we can make you laugh, but laughing is not going to keep us safe. You know what I'm saying?
It's so right. You're so right. We are screwed. If we look for trouble with an international power, they will come in. I mean, listen,
I will surrender. I'll be like, guys, you can take me. I'm going to that country. What do you need of me? Guys, I'm out. It was nice knowing you guys, but clearly we're not winning this war, so I'm on their side already.
but that's the typical example of like rock and hard place, because so many countries in the world that I've visited are super patriotic in the sense of like, they're like, if you turn on your country, if you walk away from your country, you're a traitor, and we don't want traitors. Now you would be a traitor being like, I surrender already. They're like, we haven't even done anything. We've just arrived. Like, what are you doing? And you would be absconding.
And
I promise you, I won't be the only one. I promise you, the whole of South would go with me. We would not be like, take us.
Like, I hate to be obvious about this, but then we spend billions every year on the defense force, right? And they are for them to parade at the opening of Parliament, because that's the only time we really see them doing it. And I don't want to be unfair. There may be people who are working hard behind the scenes. There may be people in the defense force who are doing a really good job. I don't know. But when I hear stories like this, I'm like, well, if we don't have anyone to protect the people who are meant to protect us, and they can't even look after their own military bases, why are we even bothering with this? Like, just dissolve the whole thing, because clearly we don't have a military that is able to do anything. Then what's the point of having them?
And also, like, I think because we so like our whole media structure is built around consuming international, like, whether it's BBC, whether it's American content, and we see like what they look like in terms of like what their special forces look like, what they're supposed to do, protect, deliver their intellect, and you compare it to ours, and it just completely pales in comparison. We like, well, we have to negotiate with terrorists. We just don't have a choice. Like, it's not going to be like, like, we don't negotiate. Please negotiate. Please, let's see what we can do here.
Well, we don't have a choice. I mean, like, Simphiwe is joking about it and you're joking about it. But the fact is, like, if some crappy little country like Lesotho or something, because really Lesotho's got, I reckon they could even, if they catch us by surprise, they could get quite far. I mean, let's say Lesotho decides one morning, we want to take the Free State. Like, I don't think it's that impossible that they would take it.
True.
There might be a few civilians with guns, but the military, can you see our military marching into the mountains? The first thing they'll do is like, it's too far. And they'll say,
I know,
and it's too cold.
Too cold.
They're not paying me enough.
Oh. The mere fact there's an officer on TikTok. He is a South African police officer. He's on TikTok, and he dances. Like, he'll dance in his uniform and do these TikTok tricks. The mere fact that there's somebody doing that, what a joke, my darling. No, it's tickets. If anybody, decides and actually sits down and is like, this is how I'm going to attack South Africa, I'm sorry, I'm the first one to be like, you know what? Take me. I'm with you. What do you need of me? Oh, okay. This is because we're not serious with our own police service. TikTok dancing.
I don't know though. Like, a part of me wonders what that is, right? Like, because
you're not a serious country when you've got someone doing that on TikTok. You're not. And I'm sure there are people in the American military who are doing it too. You're embarrassing everyone. Don't. If you're in the armed forces, be like one of those people who people go, wow, that's a soldier. That's the person we can rely on when the shit hits the fan. Don't be an embarrassing TikTok dancer. In fact, no one on earth should be an embarrassing TikTok dancer. Just say no. Just don't do it. Like, it's dumb.
You know what? I think people there's a term called clout demons, like, which is like, people will do anything for clout, in today's society. It's like, there's no parameters and barometers of like, hey, this may be a stupid idea, or this is not morally correct, or whatever. People are just doing everything to try and get that moment of fame online.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So speaking of fame online, here's the most famous creature in South Africa at the moment. This is a cow that is just stopped and started drinking water from a pothole. Now, this is such a South African scene. If you aren't on the YouTubes and you're listening to us, basically a road that is completely covered in potholes. I don't know how anyone manages to drive. And one of the cattle that lives somewhere near this road has walked into the middle of it and is just having a casual drink from the pothole in the middle of the road. There is probably no more South African scene than that, right?
Yeah.
It makes me so sad though, because we've got such a great country, right? Like in terms of like the people, what it looks like, all of it. And I think it's just like such poor planning on our end. And I do get it. Like, thank God we aren't where we used to be. But we also need to start moving a little bit faster now, because I'm like, okay, we've been making a few excuses for a few years now. We were first getting our rhythm on the salsa floor. Now we're like, okay, no. There's no one that's going to dance lessons here. Like, we need to figure out.
South Africa, if you date our let's say our birthday was the 27th of April. We just celebrated freedom the other day in 1994. That makes us a 27-year-old, isn't it?
Yes.
27, 28-year-old.
Yes.
Now, what if you're still a stupid idiot who's like living in your parents' house and begging them for everything, and you've got no job prospects, and you playing video games all day, and you eat like really bad food, and you get fat, and you just become an embarrassment to your family, and you're 27, 28 years old. That's when you should be left out to dry, because you need to, at some point, I agree with Candice, like we had the excuse in the beginning. We were, this young democracy. We had to figure out our dance moves. Now we're turning into that creepy kid who stays with their parents for too long. That's what I think we are.
Yeah. The creepy person is just not trying to get their life together. And I think that's my problem with it, right? It's like, I think the one thing that like I've got to call South Africa out on is just complacency. Like we get into these places of just massive amounts of complacency, no real movement, no real action, but a lot of talk. It's like, you match with someone on a dating site and it's just like talk. But they never actually execute the actions. It's like, geez, man, like eventually you got to unmatch and move on. Like, I think we have to get to that point at some stage.
Hey, I just want to see if my lights are on yet. Hang on a second.
They are.
Very exciting.
They should be.
Wait. We're going to see if Gareth's lights are on, ladies and gentlemen. Who says the lights are on? Do you?
Sorry.
Yes, no, maybe? No.
No luck.
Are they not? No, oh, sorry. Mine became on. Sorry, Gareth.
Your lighting got even better. Wait. Your lighting got even better. Okay, Candice.
I can't help it. It's living in Cape Town. I pay for all this free lighting stuff.
Zuzile says, welcome to South Africa. In my hood, cows and especially goats are part of the CBD in Hlabisa and Nongoma. Those are in KZN. Well, you know what? Okay. If you've got them living in the CBD, I mean, that's quite something. Those.
Wow, living the life.
Yeah. Wild, right?
Okay. That's different. As I'm driving, and then do we wait for the goat to pass?
Yes, you do, Simphiwe. Yes, you do.
That kind of traffic. Kind of traffic. I was stuck in traffic because a goat wouldn't move.
It happens. I'll tell you what. You do not want to be a person whose car crashes into a cow. You first of all, that.
You're not surviving, right?
You might not. You might not, because a cow is a substantial thing. I mean, obviously the cow will be very badly hurt too, so we don't want to make fun of the cow. But let me tell you, your car comes off second best. Your car does not do well. There have been all these stories about people. If you hit like a kudu or one of those other big antelope, forget about it. You're not going to just start your car and drive on. You are that will take you out. I mean, especially if you're driving a little skorokoro, because then you're in big trouble. If you're driving something substantially bigger, maybe you've got a 50-50 chance. But I've heard stories about like people driving on farm roads late at night, and they'll hit like a cow, and it's terrible. It's really bad. Like you're not going to just drive on. It's not like hitting a dove on the road or like. You see those little, like those unfortunate roadkill animals on the way to like Durban or whatever. This is serious. Like you hit one of those big things, you're finished.
Oh, I've seen it, like driving to and from different farm and rural places. And you see it, like the cars are either, worse for wear, the people are worse for wear, the animals worse for wear. It's just, all of it is just bad for everyone involved. And like you said, I think I was traumatized once when I hit a bird driving. I was so traumatized and shaken. I didn't listen to music. I was like, My God.
You
I
just
was like,
killed
what?
No.
I just killed I was like, oh my gosh, my juju must be so bad right now. I need to go sage. What is happening? What are the omens trying to tell me? Did I just kill my good luck? You know?
Right.
Oh, no. But Candice, haven't you noticed like birds of today are quite stubborn? You will wait for them to fly off. Like you need
Oh,
to
they are
hoot maybe and
terrible.
be like, girl, get a move. Come on now. Like you gotta move. And it's just like
I'm so glad you brought that up. There's some really stupid doves and pigeons that live in my neighborhood. And they walk around on the roads, especially after it's rained. They'll be on the road, and then there's like that steam coming off the road in summer. And these birds are so goddamn stupid that your car is literally on top of them before they fly away. And sometimes
Oh my gosh.
they look around like I don't think they're stubborn. I don't know if they're stubborn or stupid, but either way, they're going to get killed.
Oh man, that's so unfortunate. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like all about the omens. I'm like, I'm not trying to kill all my good luck in the road. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, one bird was a warning shot from the angels and sky. Too many birds is like that's an assassination.
Yeah, you don't want to be like the bird killer with your car where you
No,
whenever you get to your destination, you have to scrape the animals off the grill of your car because now you've been on a wild rampage.
The bird assassin strikes again. It hits the news front page.
Guys, Candice has just arrived. Oh, we've got some food for lunch. Scrape the
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Yeah, so John brings up the road to Sun City. I've taken that road many times. There must be thousands of people who've been killed by hitting cattle. There are always cattle on that road to Sun City. And the other place that I went when it was a long time ago, it was probably about 10, maybe 13 years ago. I drove through the Transkei from East London all the way through the Transkei up to Mthatha. And I was driving on my own in a rental car. Let me tell you, that road is not for sissies. First of all, there are potholes and there are some really windy little pieces when you go through the mountains and things. And then there are livestock. There are cattle, there are goats, there are sheep, there are all kinds of animals on those roads. You have to keep your wits about you. If you're traveling there at night, you're finished. I mean, better that you just stop and drive in the morning. You know, it's not worth it. Just book in wherever you can. Ask someone for a bed. Just stop. If you're going to drive through the Transkei at night, not a good plan.
Oh, and there's still going to be people who do it, but no,
So I was talking to two friends of my sisters because they were at her place for lunch, and they were telling me about this story where they basically went through the mountains in America. Now, they were visiting family there, but they didn't know about snow chains and mountain roads or any of that stuff. And they basically this harrowing story. I'm just going to summarize it, but these guys were basically this close to kind of not making it because they took a road they closed off the main road through the mountains because there was heavy snow. So they thought, oh well, we'll just take this roundabout route. We'll Google another route, and they ended up driving through this place. First of all, they were running very low on fuel. Second of all, it was coming down hard, the snow. There was a big problem. They might not have made it.
Wow.
And they were telling me this story, and the whole story was like I had goosebumps the whole time because it was literally, it's an environment South Africans don't know, because what do we know about snow, right? You find yourself in a situation like that, you don't know how to get out of the snow. It's bloody terrifying. It's really wild. So I suppose we shouldn't complain about the odd cow or goat that crosses our roads when if you lived in a country with serious snow and ice, and I mean, they were saying that there were cars where you just saw the tail lights of the cars, and they'd just gone off the road, and they were just like parking there. And if you got trapped in that kind of snow, I mean, you might not make it through the night because it's freezing cold, and your car's now you're not going to be able to keep the heater on, and even if the heater's on, it's not going to work so well at minus whatever it is, 20 degrees or something. That's scary.
Wow. That is petrifying. And also, I think it's that idea that the grass is always greener, right? We look at our issues and we're like, these are the most severe, terrible issues in the world. And then you like start looking at these different situations and you're like, I'll take my pothole and a random cow maybe,
Right.
as opposed to like the snow but also like America, like I did a road trip in the US and I remember for me, it was such an eye opener because I remember thinking like all we were sold about America was very specific image, right? Like so sophisticated, so bougie, everyone's got their life together. And then we took an off-ramp between North Carolina and Atlanta, and we ended up in this town. When I say I have never seen such broken down things and people and dogs in my life, I was petrified. Like, so we drive through this little town, and when I say I saw a dog, and I am not exaggerating, with one tooth at the top, one tooth at the bottom. When I saw his owner, and the owner had a similar like look. I was like, we are in Cracksville. Where the hell are we? Get me out of Dodge. It was the craziest experience.
Yeah. No,
I almost didn't make it.
You make a big mistake if you think everyone in the country is the same. I mean, especially a huge country like America, but even in South Africa, there's certain neighborhoods you go into, even in Joburg, man.
Yes.
You suddenly think you're in the Twilight Zone. It's like, what the hell is going on around me here? This is not right.
I mean,
this is not where I should be.
Well, true, and let's not forget Devilsdorp. So there was a whole cult running in Krugersdorp. So
you see, we've come full circle. We end up back with cults. This is where we started this morning, and now we're back with the cults. So please, everybody, promise us that we've got the new month of May. We're already well into May. We're going into winter. No matter how cold and lonely you get this winter, and no matter how desperate you are for whatever, firewood, warmth, food, companionship, please don't join a cult. We would prefer you didn't. Life is never that bad. And Sanele says, from cult leader to psychic to bird murderer, Candice has lived.
Yeah, that one life, Candice, like a wild life,
As Kourtney Kardashian would say, you can't say we didn't live life. So you're right.
Spot on. All right, when we come back, we will get to Revix with Sean Sanders. We're going to check in with him and see what's going on in the world of cryptocurrency. We also got a guest joining us this morning, Richard Hardiman, who is the founder and CEO of Rand Marine Technology, and also a former journalist, broadcaster, and Tedx speaker you may know. His name is well known all across South Africa, and we're going to catch up with him, check in with him, and see what he's up to. So all of that is coming up. Don't go anywhere. CliffCentral.com on a Wednesday with Candice Mama and Simphiwe Mtetwa.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast. First of all, I don't think it's unlikely. Quite often, South Africa is slightly different as a market.
Yeah, for sure.
We're smaller.
Yeah.
Much smaller than other international markets. But we've got to take something into account, I think, and that is what's happening in Europe. So asking ourselves the question, what's happening in America? What is happening in countries that are far away from that war? Is the same trend happening? Are we beating them? Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
That's right. You can join them every Monday on that show with Auto Trader and the Auto Trader podcast on cliffcentral.com. There's lots to catch up on today. We're going to get into that in a moment. We've got Simphiwe, we've got Candice Mama, and we've got Sean Sanders, who makes a star return to the mornings and will give us an update. But by the way, Sean had a birthday last week. Did you celebrate? Did you do anything to celebrate, Sean?
Morning, Gareth. Yeah, good to see you again. I did. I ended up celebrating last week, Thursday, and then on Friday, I got the worst food poisoning of my life. So I entered my 30s feeling like I was in my 90s. Anyway, I'm back to normal now.
Sean, you just turned 30.
I know.
I just turned 30, yeah.
Oh, well, you know what?
Well, look that old. You meant to say he was there all along.
Well, Sean, I hate to tell you this, but I mean, the way you entered is pretty much how it's going to go for a while. You just can't party the way you used to. That's really what your cities are. I'm just glad that God gave you the realization really quickly.
Very quickly. Yeah, the rude awakening.
Dude, well, first of all, there's not a huge amount to celebrate in terms of the current Bitcoin price, but there are other things that are going on. And we spoke to Chris and to Brett a couple of weeks back. They're both telling us about some of the new things you're launching. But give us a quick update, a sort of roundup of what's been going on, because we know that this war in Ukraine has been affecting things. We also know that there are parts of the world who have, where people are hugely bullish now on cryptocurrency. And before, it was hard to find people, especially in governments, especially in big hedge funds and corporations and investment businesses, that were going to openly say they were as excited about cryptocurrency as kind of people are right now. And there seems to be a bit of a lull in the world economy. It's not just a crypto thing. But where are people putting their money right now? Because so many people are just keeping it in cash.
A lot of people are keeping it in cash, right? But you actually have seen the biggest outflow, and it's the net outflow, right? So looking at the inflows versus outflows, but the largest net flow of cryptocurrency out of exchanges that we've seen in over 3 years, right? So 1/3 of all of Ethereum tokens, Ether tokens, have been moved off exchanges, right? And you've actually seen it was close to 49 billion rand. I want to get the right figure. I was actually trying to type this away to get the right figure. Here it is. 96,000 Bitcoin were moved off exchanges in April. And the reason that the sort of volume of cryptocurrency is moving off exchanges is because people are going into like a hodl mode. People are choosing, and this is institutions as well, but they're choosing to rather just hold cryptocurrency either on their hardware wallets or in their software wallets, and they're choosing not to keep their cryptocurrency on exchanges, which has historically actually been a really positive development for the world of crypto. But I mean, here we are today. The crypto market has taken a pretty deep plunge over the last 12 months. I mean, it was just about 12 months ago that we were looking at near that all-time high for both Bitcoin and Ethereum and amongst other cryptocurrencies. But, the other interesting thing I think to look at within this market, and it's like this famous quote that I think I've said quite a few times. I wouldn't say it's famous for me. It's famous in the crypto space. But the famous quote is essentially, when in doubt, zoom out. And that's the thing to do in the crypto space. And it's also the thing to do, I think, in most other sort of growth markets. If you look at the stock market, I mean, gosh, yeah, it's also, I mean, the S&P 500, sort of the biggest index of stocks in the world, is down roughly about 18% this year alone, right? The crypto market's down about 28% on average this year alone. So there has been a pretty big decline across the board. But I mean, at the end of the day, what is everyone focusing on? It's inflation. Like inflation. That's the big story at the moment. The Fed is meeting today. That's the Reserve Bank in the US. And, they're going to essentially I would expect at least an interest rate hike of about 50 basis points today. So that's 0.5%. But then it's sort of the trajectory of those rate hikes going forward. Right? The rate hikes, if they are
would you say, again, I'm always reticent to ask you for direct financial advice. That's not your job. And you've always said diversify. You guys offer a range of products. But isn't this a good time to buy?
It would be. It goes against, I think, kind of the emotional side of us, right? Because when prices are going down, it's scary. And when prices are going up, oh yeah, this is the great time to buy, right? It's kind of weird when you go into, buy a pair of shoes or clothes, you think very differently. But yeah, ultimately, this is where the smart money is entering the market. And I mean, maybe the market goes down a further 5%, maybe another 10%, maybe another 20%. Those are opportunities, again, to sort of get into this market if you believe that the market's going to go up in the future. When I say the market, I'm just talking about the crypto market, but that's advice for any market, right? If you want to invest in stocks, it's a good time to get in if you're looking at a 5 or 10 year investment horizon.
All right, so it's not all bad, but if we look at the current Bitcoin price, we're looking at about $38,000, which is not great. Are there any tokens that are really behaving themselves at the moment and going up like in a direct straight line up? Are there any places where you can see, because you said it just now, and people are, I said it too, people are putting their money into cash, which is so weird because that's never where you want to be. And especially if you're in rands, it was 16 rand to the dollar just 2 days ago, which is not great. Those are not numbers we want to look at. If you've got everything you've got in rands, you have seen a serious decline in your value. So what do you think is driving the overall decline, not just in crypto, but in everything else? Is it because investors are just scared? The American stock market's not performing very well either, is it?
No, I think it's inflation. I mean, as I said just now, it's inflation is sorry, there's a car that's rushing past here, so I'm sure you can hear that on the podcast. But it really does seem to be inflation. The expectation of interest rates rising, right, which comes about from inflation, that scares a lot of people. Why? Because when you start looking at any investments, or any investment, let's just say, a stock as an example, the way that you value that stock is you say, okay, in the future, this company is going to provide me dividends. It's going to provide me some sort of a return. In some cases, it's capital appreciation where the stock price goes up in value. But all of a sudden, whatever that's worth many years in the future isn't the same as if you discount it at the various interest rates that are going forward, it's not worth the same today as it would be if interest rates were low going forward, right? The opportunity cost of investing your money isn't the same if interest rates are really low versus them being really high. So that's got a lot of people quite alert and thinking about, okay, well, where do I put my money? Maybe all of a sudden savings accounts become a lot more appealing because, well, okay, I'm earning a higher interest rate there rather than putting money into stocks which are uncertain, and crypto is also uncertain. I do think, again, the same thing I've said on the show so many times over, you do need to diversify. Maybe this is a time to take a little bit of money out of some of the riskier assets. If you're feeling nervous and you're feeling stressed, move into cash. Or if you're feeling like, hey, listen, I've not got into any of these sort of growth stories, whether it is stocks or crypto or anything else, maybe this is your time to get in. I think you have to sort of have a bit of introspection there and think about where you want to be in this market.
Yeah. You've got a lot of exciting things lined up. And if you were to buy crypto, is there would you rather buy Ethereum or Bitcoin at the moment? Is there even a debate about those two? Because they usually, there's still a kind of, there's a performance in concert. The one goes up, the other one kind of usually goes up as well, especially compared with things outside of the crypto market. But is there an argument for one over the other at the moment from the point of view of anyone who's looking to invest for the first time?
So I would say that there is, and I'm not normally a trader when looking at these sorts of things, but I do think that there's an interesting opportunity coming up. And please don't take this as investing advice or anything, but I think there's an interesting opportunity coming up because Ethereum is essentially going from a proof of work algorithm to a proof of stake algorithm, right? Which is essentially the way that these networks validate transactions. And this is essentially going to mean that Ethereum is greener and it's more attractive then to institutional investors. And it also means in some respects, and I think there's going to be a lot of comments that come in after this saying, Sean, that's not the truth, or like, caveat. But at the end of the day, Ethereum will become a more efficient sort of network relative to Bitcoin. And I can't wait for these comments to come through. But that should actually bring about a lot of interest within Ethereum, right? And you do see this. I mean, you saw this with the Bitcoin halvening that took place a few years ago, right? Where all of a sudden, just over these short periods of time, a lot of interest enters the space. All of a sudden, Ethereum's all over the headlines. And I think that could happen again. So I'm quite bullish on Ethereum. I've personally taken a bit of a punt at just a small position in Ethereum. I just want to see if the story plays out. I guess hold me to this. Let's touch base in say 3 months or so and see how it's played out.
Cool. What new products have you got coming up? Because you guys have always launched. You're always launching some new token, some new thing. Whether it's dollar coin, whether it's a savings coin, whether it's a you've got all these products, gold. You've even, there's so many options on Revix. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, so I think we're building on what I spoke about a few weeks ago, which is those savings vaults. The goal with Revix over the next, say, 3 to 5 months would be to launch a savings vault for each of the cryptocurrencies we offer. So, we offer Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, USDC, Solana. I mean, the list goes on. And what we want to do is essentially say, instead of you just investing in this coin and then essentially making any gains if the price goes up, or making any losses if the price goes down, we want to say, how about earning an interest on this cryptocurrency? So you can earn, say, 4% or 7% on Bitcoin. You could earn maybe 5 to 8%, and these rates will fluctuate, but 5 to 8% on Ethereum. So just like if you're putting your money into your savings account with your bank, you can do the same with Revix. And the first product that we've launched really within these savings vaults is the USDC savings vault. So this is where you essentially can take your rands. Rands have obviously not been a very good investment recently. You've seen how it's sort of depreciated quite aggressively against the dollar. You can take your rands, you can buy USDC on Revix right now, and you can deposit these rands into a USDC savings vault, just like a savings account. And that allows you right now to earn 9%. But from Friday, you're going to be able to earn 12% on an annualized basis. Now, if you compare that to what you'd be earning at a dollar or in a dollar savings account, I mean, that's 50 times really what you're earning there, right? You're not making any money if you're trying to save dollars right now. And I can get into the details of how we're sort of doing this right now. And if you want to learn more, I mean, of course, reach out to us, reach out to our customer support team. We're happy to provide fact sheets and tell you more information around this. This is meant to be a sensible long-term investment. This isn't really crypto investing, right? You're using cryptocurrency to earn a yield, but it is a lot more sort of like a savings account than anything else.
That's useful information. As Sean says, you can always reach out to him and his team. They've got their finger on the pulse and they'll be able to help you and talk you through it. And you also don't have to, go big. If you're nervous and you're not sure about this at this point, there are lots of investors who are feeling that way. Just put in a little bit. Maybe move some money around. As Sean said, diversify. And you can find out all the information you need on Revix.com, Revix.com. Nice to see you, Sean.
Brilliant, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Cool, man.
Thanks.
Yes. There's Sean Sanders with some interesting info for us, as always. It's crazy out there. Nobody seems to know what the hell to do right now with money. Everybody's like, well, wherever you put it, whatever you buy at the moment, there's no dead cert right now. That's the word from people who know way more than me. I spoke to someone the other day and they were saying to me, nah, just hold on. Don't buy any stocks. Don't buy any gold. And if you've got any cash lying around, just save it. Don't do anything else. Wow. So don't spend, everybody. It's first of all, the advice from the first hour was don't join a cult. The advice from the second hour is don't spend any money if you don't have to.
Yeah, I actually agree with both of those, Gareth. As much as I've been playing devil's advocate, or in this case, many people think devil's leader, I've just, it's so important. I hate it. My younger brother called me out on it the other day. And he said to me, he was like, so he was having a conversation and it was a family thing. And eventually, before I even opened my mouth, he's like, hey, before you even try and play devil's advocate,
that's your thing. Is that what you do, Candice?
He's like, today's not the day. No one's in the mood for
it. This is what you do, huh? In your family, you're the one who's arguing against obviously sensible positions.
No, it's not that I'm arguing against a sensible position. It's just that I always want us to cover the holistic base. I'm like, I just don't like having one party unrepresented. I'm like, let's just look at it in its full entirety. And if I have to take this cross on myself, then I shall.
Well,
okay, that's an interesting way of
there's some comments. Do not take financial advice from anybody, especially not Yonda, who says spend money on hose and clothes. What do you think of that?
Wow.
You
live your life.
Yeah, that's like a cool kid thing to say, because the cool kids will be like, should I pay rent or buy clothes? And then they'll be like, drippers forever, so buy clothes.
Wow. You know what?
I feel like that's what Yonda's on about,
Yonda is living very young, wild, and free, and I'm here for it. Like YOLO for you, Yonda. I just like having running water and a roof over my head. But for you, girl, you drippers forever. Like do what you have to do.
Right.
See you, boo boo.
Okay.
That's what we say.
Do we have any updates on the Johnny Depp trial? Because I got into this. I mentioned it on Friday. I'm like suddenly convinced this is the most entertaining thing in the news. There's been a lot of stuff on social media, but I don't know. You can't actually watch it live, right? There are little clips going around, but it's very difficult to. You can?
Yes, on YouTube. If you follow, gosh, is it NBC or it's one of those America Live or something? It streams it, like it streams. But then after the streaming, I think it cuts it down into chunks, so you can actually go on and it's live. But yeah, I mean, the Johnny Depp trial, I've actually been really upset for Johnny. Like, I'm like, oh, it's really sad. But I also think it's so important. I think it's so important that a trial like this is having so much media attention. It's happening in the public eye. Reason being, I think for a long time, I mean, I work in activism and, obviously a lot of it is this kind of stuff, but a lot of it is only targeted at women. It's always the woman who's abused. It's always the woman who's like, the victim. It's always the woman who can cry, like, and come into these spaces. But rarely can a man actually verbalize that, hey, you pushed me into this moment. You made, it's
I also, I'm glad you brought that up. But there's a lot of men who will also say, stop moaning. A real man wouldn't moan and get on with it. So there's not a lot of sympathy from women, but there's also not a huge amount of sympathy from men. I listened to the stuff that these two did and said to each other. I mean, it's such an ugly relationship. And I look at now how it's all been. They're dragging their dirty laundry into court because Johnny's basically suing her because she's ruined his career. He lost the job on Pirates of the Caribbean. He lost all his sponsorships, I think, except maybe one or two. But basically, his career's gone down the toilet, so he's got nothing else to lose. And I think about how you really have to swallow your pride because now all your text messages are being shared in the courtroom. Now all your arguments with each other, video clips of you two that you recorded without the other one knowing. It's so bad. It's because Hollywood is such a disgusting place in the first place, and because these Hollywood people just live a different life to the rest of us. It's so much more than what ordinary people would go through. But there's a lot of that stuff that I think happens in ordinary people's relationships too. Nobody cares though because they're not famous.
Well, yeah. And also I think it's one of those things where you do see how something can go from something so innocent and you can tell the warning signs in the beginning. And I think that's where I look at this, relationship and this trial. And I think to myself, how many people keep themselves in these situations where they're like, oh, it's just a little red flag. Oh, it's just no, girl, it's the whole circus, And I think we stay in these relationships because in the beginning, they're so thrilling and exciting and you don't know what to expect. But then it leads you to this point where you don't have a career. You don't know where $600 million went to. You're paying tax, $100 million in tax, and you're still confused. It's just all of it is a mess. It's such a mess.
Congo Chris says, dirty laundry. Are you talking about Johnny's bed sheets? And then someone else said, can I just say, this is Carl. He says, can I just say Amber Heard is hot? I'd let her shit on my bed.
No. You see, Carl, it's people like you, Carl. It's people like you. And I'm not pointing fingers, Carl. I'm not pointing fingers. But, all I'm saying is, like men make jokes about stuff like this, where they're like, oh, she's so hot, I'd let her do anything. Until she's like, really harassing you, really putting out a cigarette on your face.
Off his finger. Like, you can tolerate a lot, but cutting off a finger, you like, wait, what now? This is, and it's like, what you gonna do?
Agree. What a thing to do to a person. Like, I've never been angry enough to want to cut off someone's finger. I've cut off my own finger, well, not cut it off, but I almost cut it off when I was cutting an avo. But I've never wanted to cut someone else's finger. No. I've never been that angry with anybody. Never hated or loved anyone so much that I needed to behave like this Amber Heard behaves. And I'll tell you, that psycho hot thing that they always talk about, that the hotter a girl is, the crazier she is. She is a shining example of that.
It's true, but did you see? I was watching one body language listen to me analysis, and they were saying that actually Amber Heard, when we're looking at like perfect symmetry in a face, and that's what defines beauty, she's actually a definition of that. She's like perfectly beautiful on the scale. However, she's also got is it histrionic? I can't say it. The narcissism.
Histrionic, yeah. No, they brought up histrionic personality disorder. Yeah.
I mean, that's also pretty insane.
I've got good news for anybody who loves to discuss the mental health aspect of this, because we're going to try and get Dr. Hanan Bushkin, who is our own resident psychologist. He's going to help us out and try to figure out what these things mean and what Amber Heard and people like her. Because, hey, I mean, you don't know, your next door neighbor might be crazy like that. You hear couples fighting, about dumb stuff in the supermarket, or you hear them like shouting at each other on the phone. You think, that doesn't sound so good. It could very easily be a lot worse than you think. And it's not always the woman who's the victim here. Like you said, Candice, might be some other stuff going on. It's all so damned embarrassing. All of it.
Oh, but Gareth, I have to say that, I have to thank Cliff Central, because every time I come on here, you make me realize why I need to be alone. I don't know. You are the reason. You are the reason.
Someone asked me of the weekend, so you're not married yet? And I'm like, I was going to say, have you seen the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial? Because I mean, if I was convinced about marriage before, now I'm really keen, you're obviously.
Well, right? You know what, Gareth, there is an interesting thing that you bring up there about people asking you, you're not married yet, right? And I actually didn't think I used to be one of those people, God forbid. But then I started really liking a guy who's, I'm not going to say how old he is because he could be watching this, but he's like he's in that age range, and right. I'm 30 and he's there. And he's never been married. He has no kids. He's got no real history. Like, he's had some serious relationships, but not a serious history of them. And to be honest with you, and he's a smoke show. Like, he's such a beautiful man. But a part of me looks at him side-eyed. I'm like,
why? What happened? What's wrong with you? Why didn't you get married? I know
telling me you've lived 40-something years.
And you've never gotten married and you have no kids. Are you sure? What's wrong with you?
So what? Too good to be true?
I'm like, are you crazy? That's my thing. Number one is never like, oh, why don't you have kids? It's just like, why do you have an inability to connect to a woman or like a long-term partnership? Like, are you selfish? Are you, all those things?
I mean, there's so many people who've had terrible relationship after terrible relationship, and we don't judge them, and we don't say, well, they're always bad at relationships. And then there's this guy who you're talking about now, who's been clever enough to not get into those relationships, and he gets penalized for it.
No. I mean, I was going to say his name, and then it was going to be so obvious, just in terms of the name itself speaks about, red flagging. But I mean, like, in terms of like, there's those names, like, where you're just like, obviously that person's not going to commit, like, I don't know. But like, I was just thinking to myself, because like before I met him, when he was introduced, they were like, oh, he's a smoke show, whatever. But he's like never had, like, he just runs through, like, he's not a stayer. And then I met him and I was like, he's such a sweet guy. Like, he's so sweet. He's so kind. He's amazing. He's good looking. But then I found out his age. And then all the alarm bells started going, grrr, 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 like a little pigeon on my window. And I was like, ooh, this is not good.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sound to me like you're concerned he's a nutcase. He's dangerously crazy.
Like, something wrong. I'm like, there's something off.
Anytime above 40-something, you just have not been able to have a history of serious relationships. I'm like, what is wrong?
Would you rather try this guy on as a relationship potential, or potential relationship, or would you prefer to go with the guy who's like divorced 3 times before he gets to 40 and has like 2 kids with one woman and another kid with another woman? Is that guy, because there are a lot of those going around as well, but they don't get treated with suspicion? Are you saying that this guy's more suspicious than they are?
I'm gonna say something that I want the woman to back me up. But I think in a woman's mindset, she's like, he's got a history of commitment. He's got a history of trying to stay.
No, he's ruined 3. Maybe they weren't a disaster. Maybe they weren't a failure. But he's got a track record that doesn't show success, no matter what.
But you know what, Gareth? He's got a track record of at least taking things seriously enough to really try. You know, like, I think that's. I mean, I don't want like a 2-time divorcee.
I'll tell you why that's bullshit. So I could go out right now and I could marry some. It's so easy to get married, and then I could say I'm married, and you could even. It's so easy to make a child with somebody, right? You just you go for it. It's you don't have to plan. You don't have to think about it. There's so many people who already do have kids, and they don't think about any of the consequences. Those are not necessarily the most mature or responsible decisions anyone could make. And you're telling me you're worried about the guy who hasn't made those mistakes or those irresponsible decisions? You find him more scary than the guy who's got like 3 divorces in the bag?
No. No. I
think you're the crazy one.
No, I think the show has not been good for me at all. But no, I'm not into the 3-time divorcee either. But I do think if women are being honest, if you even go to your friends, like Simphiwe, if I went to Simphiwe and I said, look at this guy, he's a smoke show, he has no history of serious relationships, and he's this age spectrum, she'd be like, leave.
What's wrong? No. My first question was, what's wrong? What's wrong with him? Why can't he commit? But it's also with the guy that's been married 3 times. It's like, you can commit, but there's something wrong because everyone keeps leaving you. So what's your issue? But for me, it's like, I grew up in a household. If you are already 31, not married, there's something wrong with you. Like, fix your life. There's something wrong with you. And how much, like, God forbid you don't.
Well, how much time you got there, Simphiwe?
Don't mention it, Gareth, because my grandmother's been on my case. She's just like, before I die, just get a man, just a boyfriend at least. Let me see the boyfriend.
Before I die?
Yes, those are her words. She's just like, I want to know that you're going to be taken care of. And I'm like, I'm taking care of myself, girl. She's like, no. We need a man. Like, where's your husband? So already I've grown up in that kind of household. 31, not married, there's something wrong with you. But if you are 45, 3 marriages in, something's wrong with you. Like, you can't commit. So either way.
Can I be honest? Okay, Gareth, to speak to your point, I'm going to be honest and say for the past year or so, I've actually started seeing how feminism, oh gosh, the feminists are going to come for me
here
now.
we go.
No, but I think, no. I know I'm really shooting myself today, but I might as well go out with a splash. But seriously, I've realized how the feminism movement has really messed up a lot of young women, including myself, where we were kind of taught that you don't need a partner, you shouldn't have a partner, you shouldn't even want one, and how you should treat men and how you should treat yourself. And I think in a lot of that, they don't really make a lot of room for men in your situation. So when you enter a relationship, you're not entering it from like a space of like, hey, I actually would like you to be in my life. You're entering from a very like, I don't need you, I can do everything on my own. And you're entering it with a lot of attitude. And I'm like, I can see why a man wouldn't want to date another man without a thing. And so I'm starting to realize this. So I think what's being sold to women out there, it's not the one. It's not the one.
You know what? You said it. I'm not going to comment on that because you might get into trouble too. But yeah, there's a lot that you're saying. There's a lot that you're saying that's going to resonate with some people. Carl says your logic makes 0 fucking sense. Wow, I'm Cyril shocked. So not everybody agrees with you.
Thanks, Carl.
Yeah.
But I get you, Candice.
Yonder says there's always a red flag in everyone if you want to see one. That is just a trendy thing that most females say. There are plenty of guys in the same spectrum as this guy. I relate, but no red flag. So, also it depends on what you're looking for, right? I mean, these days, and this is something that also comes up in conversation more and more. It's like people go, do you want kids? To people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. They're like, do you want kids? And I think a lot of people go through their life and they like in the beginning, they go, oh, no, I don't, or I really do. And they change their mind somewhere in their life. And that's also okay. You don't have to hold on to the ideas that you had when you were 20. When you get to like 40, you can be, well, maybe I do want kids. And for a lot of people, you decide to do that at a certain time. That's cool. As long as, this is where it's so unfair to be a woman, because beyond a certain age, women don't have that option anymore.
Yeah.
That's a proper disconnect between, men and women in the way that they think about the world. So it's something to keep in mind. Let us turn our attention now to Richard Hardiman, who is a former journalist, a broadcaster, and a Tedx speaker. He's someone whose name is well known, not only in Cape Town, but all over South Africa. He's doing much cooler stuff than radio now. So we're going to find out all about that. He embarked on his first project in 2016, after that developing a waterborne drone that harvests plastic waste from the world's ports and harbors, rivers, and marinas in an effort to reduce the amount of plastic pollution in our water systems. Now, to me, this guy should be getting funding from everyone. Everyone should be sending, instead of paying your taxes, you should be saying, Richard Hardiman, how much of my money do you want for this kind of work? This is properly the most important stuff we can do. Department of Water and Sanitation can look after this stuff. And if you've ever been to, a harbor, Cape Town Harbor, Durban Harbor, if you've ever been to one of our major rivers, anywhere near an urban area, they're all an absolute disaster. Now, what Richard's doing, and I think this is fascinating, especially because a lot of broadcasters are some of the dumbest people ever. So when they go on and they actually do something smart, people are always surprised, right? Because a lot of people in media are stupid people. Richard is exactly the opposite of that. When he stopped doing radio, everyone was like, well, I wonder what this guy's going to be up to. And look, he's proven it was worth watching what he was up to. Hey, Richard, how are you?
Gareth, I'm very well. How are you? Excuse me.
You laughed when I said that a lot of people in media are stupid, but that's not untrue.
It's not untrue. I left it because I felt, and this is going to sound disastrous to all my former colleagues, I felt a little... I don't even know what to say. A little too clever to be sitting there and back announcing Britney Spears and interviewing some foreign act that couldn't make it anywhere else. I hear what you say.
All right, so listen, this is an amazing thing, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. We've got a major problem with plastic pollution in our water systems, and in fact, there's plastic everywhere. We have such a littery, dirty, messy society. And it bothers me. It's one of the things that just shows you that you're not living in a country that's heading in the right direction when there's shit lying all over the place. What made you go in this direction? And explain to us how technology has made it possible for us to find a way to stop this scourge.
When I first started, I actually wasn't even looking at the plastic problem. I wasn't even aware of it. I literally was having a cup of coffee in the waterfront in Cape Town, and I was watching how they were taking plastic out of the water. There was obviously a lot of rubbish there. You've got the winds blowing in and a lot of tourist sort of crap going in the water. And they were doing it with literally pull nets, guys on boats and pull nets and scooping stuff out. And it seemed the most ridiculous way to do it to me. And I started researching more about how you would normally do this, because I've always got ideas in my head. I don't always act on them, but this one particularly is stuck. And I was just struck by the inefficiency of what they were doing, given the problem that I could see on that particular day that was massive. And the stuff was just being blown out the harbour wall, that they didn't have time to get to it. And I just sat there and I thought, I literally doodled and I kind of came up with this idea of a robot that could swim through the water and just harvest the stuff without putting anybody in the water itself. A bit like, I don't know if you've seen that movie WALL-E. I have kids, so I've been subjected to it 1,000 times. But it's that little guy that can go around and clean up the trash while the humans, go off somewhere else because we've screwed up the earth. And I eventually just wanted to come up with a bunch of these WALL-Es to swim through water, be autonomous, clean up the plastic, bring it back to shore, and then we can recycle it. It was as simple and as dumb as that.
But you're not a robotics engineer.
No.
And you can't build these robots, can you? I mean, am I underestimating your abilities? Because that's a very complex and a very advanced field of study at the moment. In fact, it's one of the most interesting areas for technological development. People have been throwing around the word robotics for the last 50 years, but really it's come into its own recently. And drones are ubiquitous. People know what drones are. Lots of people have them for purely recreational purposes. There are also people who run very successful businesses where drones do all kinds of things, from surveillance and photography to helping farmers to water their fields. How does this work when you've got an idea in your head? You said you were doodling. Now you need to build the robot. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, I think the naivety of everything helped me keep going, because if I think about I knew what I was actually up against, I don't think I would have done it. I literally went and researched how to. I knew what I wanted, so I built it in my garage here in Cape Town, and I followed stuff on the internet and YouTube to be able to program my phone to be able to steer it around. And that's what I did. And then I tried it in my swimming pool. That seemed to work. And I knew that if I could find money, I could then find the right people to build this thing. And as you say, robotics and a very difficult sort of field to operate in.
That's incredible. So you're self-taught.
Yeah, I had to be, because I was going to be too embarrassed if it didn't work. I knew if I could make it work, someone could make it work better. That was my sort of entry level for me getting into it. And once I'd done that, I found a bit of money. Found some better engineers than me, thankfully, and then we started building them. Unfortunately, in the Netherlands and not in South Africa, it was what I wanted to start doing. But the technology here, the investment environment, everyone was looking for the next Uber. South Africa is not a place, unfortunately, as you quite well mentioned, that looks after its plastic or sort of wants to try and solve the problem.
And you can't really you can't get funding to launch some of these ideas in a place. It's much harder. Let's not say you can't, but it's much harder to find that kind of capital.
Especially in this field, yeah.
So you're in Holland now, and that's where you're doing this.
Well, I'm actually in Cape Town at the moment on holiday, but I moved to the Netherlands about 2 years ago properly. And we started sort of building these things. There's just the innovation environment, the recycling environment, the want to do something good is there.
I'm really impressed. This is phenomenal. What a story. Now you're developing these things. How many of these robots have you made? And is there a proof of concept, or are we way beyond that already? Are you now deploying these things?
Oh, we deploy them all around. Well, we've got about 50 in the water at the moment. We have clients like Disney in the US, Universal theme parks, USA and Denmark, Australia. I mean, everywhere but Russia and China at the moment. That's how we tend to pitch ourselves.
So your business is called Ran Marine, right? Okay, so you these what do these things look like? Let me see if we can't find a picture. I think you might have sent us some pictures of this.
Hopefully we have. But there you go.
So this is WasteShark. This is the thing that you've made.
Yeah. So this is an autonomous version. We have two. We've got one remote control version and one autonomous version, or two different types. This one swims around literally like a Roomba, and that's basically all it is. It's as simple and uncomplex as that.
And it doesn't. It's not big enough to cause damage to other vehicles if it goes out of control, or if there's suddenly a wind or anything else. But it collects all this trash, and then what? The trash gets taken out, and it gets thrown into the rubbish with everything else.
Yeah, well, we try and partner with the people who come to us. I mean, these are not cheap machines. I mean, they run at sort of anywhere between 25 and 45,000 euros a time. So the people that come to us really are looking to clean up and normally have a recycling system in place already. So we're dealing mainly with sort of municipalities, state sort of authorities over water, ports, harbors, marinas, those kind of things.
It's phenomenal, and I'm so glad that this has been taken up everywhere. Have you started making serious money out of this now? Because you're obviously going to want to make. No, I mean, like,
absolutely.
You need serious money to reinvest and to discover the next level of where this might go. If you're successful, it breeds success. You can keep developing. You bring more people in. You can improve the technology. This is what people don't realize, is that you take the risk. And in the beginning, you don't make money. And then as you do start making money, you have to keep reinvesting.
Quite right. And I think so. So to answer your question, I think over the last 5 years, we raised about 4 million euros. I laugh because it just costs so much money to develop these things. Last year was the first year that we actually made a profit, albeit a paper profit, but I was quite happy we were starting to see the black. So we've run in negative for 5 years. It's been a difficult journey. We have a staff of about 20 people, and who are roboticists and data engineers don't come cheap. Because the other thing we do is we measure the water quality as we go. So as you go, you can actually see what's in the water as well, and that all gets ported back to a portal where our customers can, see what the quality of the water is at the same time. And yeah, we're making money. We have plans to. I'll say here, I'm not supposed to, but we have plans to do a listing in the next 12 months in the US.
Excellent.
So yeah, I think the more money you have, the more money you can throw at the problem. And right. I just want to quickly say as well, I started this as a business and not an NGO because I truly believe that businesses can actually change things. If you wait around for the government to do, or you're begging money, exactly.
You're expecting a handout the whole time. NGOs, the whole time. And they're a dime a dozen, and some of them are run very badly because the people who run them may have all the best intentions in the world, but they don't know how money works.
100%. Yeah. So I think that was for me because I often get asked, what do we do with our profits, or who donates to us, and it's not. It needs to be a business because then you function, you come up with more ideas, you advance yourself a lot quicker, and but we're doing good, and I think this is the first business that I've had that feels good. You're doing whatever you do every day does something, and that's quite important.
So, I mean, this is fantastic, but did it come out of you trying to solve a problem, or just because you wanted to make a cool robot?
That's a good question. I think a little bit of both. I'd left radio, and not I was being down on it. I enjoyed radio, but I was never very good at it. I found it very easy to. It came too easily, and it was a little bit. I was becoming a little too sort of rote in everything I did. I wasn't really challenging myself.
Sure.
And I think this idea was. I had a problem with the inefficiency of what was being done. I wanted a cool way of solving it because I think that gets marketing, it gets people talking, and I think that's interesting. And most days we're outside, or before we became a little bigger, in the early days we were outside playing with toys and water every day, and that was kind of cool.
It reminds me of those little boats that we used to make as kids, and then you'd kind of you let them go down the storm water drains,
right?
Or if there was a river or a stream, or you'd make one with the hose pipe in your garden. I mean, sometimes those things can lead to serious innovation, and I just love the fact that this is all happening, and that you're making a real business out of this, and you're already sending these things all over the world. So far, the USA, UAE, India, Germany, South Africa, lots of other countries too. We need them here. Government here should. Government in South Africa should be listening to you, buying a whole bunch of these.
We've tried through Portnet and Transnet, and bless their hearts, they've had their issues over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
but they
now poor old our Durban harbour needs all the help it can get, and I don't even know if your robots would be able to help with some of the things that they've got to deal with there, but it would help.
We've just built a bigger one. Now in India, which is 4 meters by 2 meters, and I think that will help. So we've realized that scale can be an issue for some customers. So we've just finished building that, and hopefully have it in the market in the next couple of months. And I think that will help something like a Durban harbour. Yeah.
Is the green movement helping you here? I mean, there are lots of environmentalists all over the world who must be having mini orgasms over the fact that you're solving this massive problem of plastic pollution. Are they throwing money at the problem too? Are they offering to get involved? Are they offering to help you and market this for you in far-flung parts of the world?
Yes and no. I think it's quite a strange place when you enter this. It's quite fraught with territorial kind of. Everyone wants to be the person that saves the planet and plastic, and it's quite difficult sometimes to navigate, especially in NGOs. We have support, definitely. I think there's a lot of people that sort of back us and want to help us. But we do find, again, selling to cities, selling to governments, selling to commercial entities is better for us at the moment because they have the cash. What I would like to do is get to a point where we can get so much volume, we can reduce the price, and then we can start, really sort of attacking the problem here without anyone sort of raising too many eyebrows on the cost.
What's the most horrible thing that you've found in one of these robots when they've been doing their thing, cleaning up the waterways? Have you found birds? Have you found animals? a human limb maybe? Tell us.
Not yet. We haven't done the human limb yet, but I mean, we have found. I mean, the one sad part is you're actually collecting trash, and you don't just collect plastic. It'd be lovely if we were just picking up plastic bottles all day, but you collect everything that's in front of this thing. And yeah, mainly, especially in Rotterdam and a couple of times here in South Africa, we've got a couple of down in Cape Town where you've come out with dead fish and just the most grotesque. You can't actually identify what it is, but and that's the hard part, because we try and take pictures of everything comes out. It's not that the sleek technology and robotics disappears very fast when you're pulling out a lump of whatever it is from whatever mammal made it. Yeah, it's not pretty.
Is it easy to actually clean the WasteShark? I mean, you just spray it down. Is it? Does it have a lot of moving parts? And
when I first started developing it, I was developing it with Africa in mind, because I sort of and I thought, well, whatever sort of lands in Lake Malawi, for instance, a guy who's never used one of a drone before, let alone something in water, and it's got to be very easy to fix. So I had that starting point, and when I sort of introduced that to my engineers want to go mad. They want to do everything they can, and they know they can. They're very clever people. And I just had to keep pulling them down to simplicity and this idea of this guy at Lake Malawi who wouldn't understand what the hell they were talking about. So we have two thrusters. That's the only moving parts, and they're very easily replaceable. And if anything goes wrong on the software side or the electronic side, we just dial in and we sort it out from Rotterdam. So we've made it really easy for the customers to use.
And do they all have to be piloted, or like those automatic robots that go around your house and vacuum? Is it like that?
It's both. So in the context of somewhere like India and South Africa, where there's an abundance of labor, I wanted to, and this sounds very altruistic, but it's not. I wanted the guy who had the pull net, the original pull net, now to be a drone operator. He can stand at the side. He can use technology to do his job. He doesn't lose his job, which is the important thing. But he's now elevated. You're a drone operator. You're not a guy with a pull net taking crap out the water.
It's a skill. It's an absolutely useful skill.
Absolutely, and it can be transferable, which is very cool. But then in places more our sort of Western customers, America want autonomy, so they want these Roombas. And for the last 2 years, we were quite fortunate to get quite a large grant from the EU government, where we're building a docking station now. So it's this huge sort of docking station that takes 5 of our sharks, because these things shouldn't really operate on one at a time. You need a fleet of them, and these things now dock. I think you had a picture of me next to our pool facility in Rotterdam there, where they actually dock in the pod, empty out the waste, recharge. That's not a pod, so that's just one of our launching things, but we built it in that pool now where we're testing it. And then 5 of them can dock around, recharge, and go back out again. And that's a completely autonomous system. So you should be able to put that in a port and have 24-hour system, just Roombas cleaning up the water. No one has to look at it.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, Candice and Simphiwe are sitting there. They're not asking questions because they don't have any, but I'm jumping in and asking all the questions. I'm always just really impressed with people who come up with great innovations and problem solve. And that's the way to start some of the greatest businesses. If there's a need and you can fulfill that need, whether it's with technology, with a service, with a product, whatever it might be, this is just terrific. And I'm so pleased that it's someone who came from dumb radio, because now finally, it's starting to raise the profile of everybody else in media a little bit. No, we're really well done. Without any sarcasm, this is just terrific.
No, thank you. I think you mentioned the dumb radio. I mean, I tried what you're trying and failed. Well, it's not trying. You're doing bloody well, and failed spectacularly. So I needed to do something, and I just, I don't joke about the naivety of going into it. I think if I knew the complexity, if I knew the cost, if I knew the lack of cash, I wouldn't have done it. But I'm a very what I will say. I'm a very normal person and very uneducated, apart from a shitty business degree, which hasn't really helped me.
But you sat there making these things yourself. I mean, the prototypes you actually did. That blows my mind, because it just again proves you don't need to have the degree in robotics from MIT in order to do this. And for anyone who's listening to this now, who's thinking, well, there's this problem in my neighborhood, and my God, the countries with the most problems are going to be the ones that churn out the most innovative people. Solve that problem. Start tinkering around in your garage. Build something. Make something. You'd be surprised. It might be the next big thing. And Richard, you're onto something here. I think it's terrific.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, great to have you on the show, and keep us updated. And good luck when this thing is, something that you can list. I think there are lots and lots of people who'd like to buy into it, be a part of solving this huge problem, and especially in parts of the world where it looks like it's an insurmountable problem. This is the type of technology that will help us solve it. It's really, really smart. Richard Hardiman, everybody. Isn't that cool?
Guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. There he is. That's great. WasteShark is what it's called.
Wow.
And his company, Rand Marine, in Holland, in the Netherlands. Isn't this great? I'm always inspired by people who figure out some way to solve a problem that the rest of us are going, it's such a problem. We sit in our houses and we complain and we moan about it. Here's this guy. He's like, I'm going to fix this. I'm just going to sit in my garage with a hammer and some bits of wood, and I'll figure out how to make a thing that'll clean up the oceans, the harbors, the rivers, the waterways. Clever. This is so goddamn clever.
Oh, I can't wait to see some of those floating around Cape Town. I do think we're going to get it first. We all know Kryptonians, but I'm excited.
Also, Candice, there's that other thing that we don't really have the ocean right here where we are.
So hey,
you've got the Vaal Dam. Okay, you've got the Vaal, which needs it more than we do right now.
We need something that will clear the human shit out of the Vaal Dam. So if anyone's busy in their garage this weekend, try and make that. You'll make a killing.
How many volunteers in the comments? I want to see.
People are lining up around the block to make a shit cleaning machine.
Oh no!
But they'd make a killing. Ironically, it may not be. It's not the most glamorous jobs that actually get you the killing. But I think it is like things like this that no one else wants to do. There's a huge opening for it, and you could actually change the world. So maybe I should go do it after the show.
Well, Easy Picking says a robot that fixes potholes. That would be a big winner as well. Vutzako says, I'm also an inventor. Awesome. Good. Get out there and invent. This is terrific. Well, you never know. I mean, Simphiwe, that guy who made, those things that they used to tie the bread packet, that little piece of plastic? There's this, I don't know if it's an urban legend, if it's a true story, but the guy who made that, who invented that little piece of plastic, is like a gazillionaire. He's got just so much money. And he invented this thing when he was young, supposedly, and he's now just inventing other things for fun. That's how you make serious money. You invent whatever, anything, something that holds two things together, some, thing that cleans out the rubbish from the bottom of the Vaal Dam. You'd be surprised. People are making great stuff, and you don't have to have lots of money, and you don't have to have the degree in anything. You can go out there and do that today. It's amazing.
Oh, so true.
Poop Shark is the winner. That's the one that people are going to put into the Vaal Dam. Poop Shark.
Okay.
And just to take us full circle again, Congo Chris says, I bet Johnny Depp will fund the Poop Shark.
Oh my goodness.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop
so it's not so much the machine that I'm feeling for. It's the person who's going to have to clean the machine that I really feel sorry for. Like, I'm so glad it's going to be out in the world. I'm sure someone in the audience listening is going to be the one making it. But please try and figure out a way that another human being does not have to extract all that amazingness.
You've seen that show on TV. What is it called? Hard Jobs, or what is it?
Yes. Oh God.
Who's that dude? That is such a great show. They show you the people who clean the sewers, and the people who work in all these jobs where you have to work with a mess, or it's dangerous, or it's horrible, and dirty jobs. It's called Dirty Jobs.
Dirty Jobs. Yes.
What a great show. I love that show. And those people who work in those jobs, they never have to worry about unemployment. They will always have work. It's going to be hard and horrible work. Some of them get paid a lot, to make up for the shittiness of the job. But that stuff we'll always need. There's always going to have to be someone who cleans out the machine that cleans out the bad stuff.
There you have it, folks. There you have it.
I mean, if all else fails.
Mike Rowe Mike Rose, the guy from Dirty Jobs. Thanks, Beth. With a useful, you see, everybody. Oh, I don't even have to know anything. I should come on the show and ask the audience, and they know everything. Tell you what, if we had to go on who wants to be a millionaire with this audience, and we said ask the audience every time, we would just walk away.
No.
You don't agree?
Have you seen? They are sarcastic as hell, Gareth. These people will deliberately give you the wrong answer just to see you fail. They'll just be like, you thought you knew it. No, you didn't.
Candice, you have a very happy week. And Simphiwe will wear her slippers on Friday for National Slipper Day. If you can support National Slipper Day, they obviously are raising money for Reach for a Dream. A very, very good reason to get involved. You can find out more by going along to hashtag Slipper Day, but you can also go to Wimpy, Pick and Pay, Baby City, Dischem, Toy Zone. They're all involved. Buy a sticker, and any of the money that you help raise will go to help make a child's dream come true, especially for kids, obviously, who are fighting life-threatening illnesses. So that's a good reason to get involved. Have an excellent week, the rest of it. They're only 2 days after today, and then you're back to the weekend again. Nice. All right, everybody. Cheers. Be good.
Cheers.